What is going on, guys? Welcome to a special impromptu episode of Second Guessing with Stressin. Today, I'm joined by Jeremy Branham. You know him from ESPN 97.5 Houston Radio with the Killer Bees, and he's also the play-by-play caller for the U of H men's basketball team. Jeremy, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me. You doing okay?
I'm doing great, man. I know we kind of talked about this, and then it was kind of a last minute text, so it really means a lot for you to get on, at such short notice. But like to me, it's perfect. You're somebody that I respect overall, but specifically for Astros, you seem to be all over the Astros, and then obviously, I don't think anybody can say that they know the U of H men's basketball team better than you because you call every game. So, with opening day being today around 3 with the Astros, and then U of H playing in the Sweet 16 tomorrow in Indy against Purdue. It's perfect timing. So I know you're kind of short press on time. I kind of want to just get the action packed both ends of those. I'll just start off with the Astros opening day. Just generally ready to go. Like, what are your thoughts on the Astros for this season upcoming?
I feel like I'm more optimistic than a lot of people. I see, national pundits and the talking heads. They have the Astros finishing second or third in the AL West. Now, mostly in the playoffs, they have them as like a wild card team. I think they're going to win the division. I think it will be a race. I think the Rangers will be a lot better than they were a year ago. Their offense is very good. Now, will they have enough pitching? Rocker and Leiter can kind of change the outlook on them if they're good, but they're young. Seattle's pitching is really good, but Seattle's pitching was very healthy last year. Can you count on them being as healthy as they were a year ago? Yeah, it's pretty hard to do that in the big league level. And then they can't hit. I like the Astros' chances in the division. I think their offense is kind of getting overlooked because they lost Tucker and they lost Bregman. Oh no, everything's awful. But then you've added Isak. You've added, Christian Walker. You signed as a free agent. What will Cam Smith be as a rookie? I think we need to be realistic with our expectations. But if he's an upgrade, that helps your lineup. I think Jake Myers will be a little bit better. I think Jeremy Pena will be a little bit better. I think Yanner Diaz will be a little bit better. So I'm more optimistic than most people when it comes to the Astros. Now, is it because I'm biased? Is it because I've lived in Houston? I pull for the Astros. Maybe that's up for you guys to factor in, but I think they'll win the division.
That's awesome. And I don't know if you saw my tweet earlier. I asked Grok on its predictions, and it was pretty spot on. I mean, it was basically what you were saying: tight race, win the division, make the playoffs, and depending on bats, you make it back to the ALCS. So I tend to align with you. I'm pretty optimistic. In some of these moves we made, like the Kyle Tucker trade, like obviously you've scoured through that, but I guess now like the final fallout is like, if you look at it, like we got rid of Kyle Tucker and we added new pieces in return. So like, what is your analysis on the trade now heading into opening day?
I've been banging the drum for the Astros to operate like this for a decade. People get sick whenever I bring it up, but I love the way that the Tampa Bay Rays handle their roster. Now, I don't love their payroll. I don't like the fact that they're always consistently one of the bottom payrolls in all of Major League Baseball. But if you look at Tampa Bay, how they do things, they never let players enter free agency. They trade them way before they enter free agency, or at least 2 years before they enter free agency, or a year before they enter free agency. I think that's how you reload. I think that's how you stay consistently good at the big league level, is when you're constantly reloading. Like we're hearing a lot right now is the Astros window closed. And, I personally don't think that it is, but I love what they did with the Tucker trade. I really wish they would have done that with players in the past. Alex Bregman left you in free agency. Should you have traded him last offseason and got a similar-ish return for Alex Bregman, and you reload the system? You're getting continuous return on investment for a draft pick or a player. Carlos Correa, should you have traded him a year early before he left you in free agency so you can continuously reload the farm? It's one of the knocks on the Astros that their minor league system's not good. Well, why not trade those players before they enter their final year of their deal and restock that farm system? So I've always been a huge advocate for trading players before they're going to leave you in free agency. And, maybe the Astros didn't know that Bregman was going to leave them. They didn't know that Altuve was going to lead them. Cole's a little bit different because you traded for him, was kind of a hired gun and a mercenary for 2 years. But I love it. Like, I think that you should trade your players that are going to leave in free agency a year before they leave. So I love what they did with Kyle Tucker. I love the trade at the beginning, right when it happened, and it looks even better now because now you have 3 starters for Tucker.
Yeah.
You thought the greatest is your starting third baseman hitting second today. Cam Smith's your starting right fielder hitting seventh today, and then Hayden Wesneski's your number 5 starter. And the Cubs might only get a year out of Tucker. Now, I don't want to dismiss how good Kyle Tucker is. Tucker's capable of winning an MVP, but you had him for one more year. You have Isak, I think, for 3 or 4. You have Wisniewski for a few years, and now you get Cam Smith for 6 years of club control at minimum. So I'm a big advocate for those types of trades, which is kind of weird because whenever I bring it up, you're like, "Oh, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about." But then now look at the reaction to everybody on the Kyle Tucker trade. This is what I'm talking about. This is what you should.
It looks lopsided in our favor, in my opinion, right now.
It does. And like that's kind of the point. Like people don't see it, right? People are like, well, what is it? We don't want to trade our best player. And then you fast forward 3 months. Oh, this is what we got for the best player. They should have always been doing this. I guess it's easier to understand and digest whenever you actually see it, whenever it's in front of you. Now, the Framber Valdez aspect of this is interesting, right? Because Framber is entering the final year of his deal. I actually think Dana Brown, it's my theory. I don't know this. I'm not a reporter. I'm just a jabroni who talks on a microphone. I believe that Dana Brown tried to trade Framber Valdez. Maybe not tried to trade, but he listened to offers for Framber Valdez is my guess. He had the winter meetings. Everybody's got a price. I think they listened on Framber, but didn't like what they heard.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, if they're willing to trade Kyle Tucker, then why wouldn't they be willing to trade Framber Valdez? And so I guess like maybe it's the market wasn't as high as what it was for Kyle Tucker. But like you pointing this out too, like I think the initial thing is like that initial shock value, like, oh, we're trading Tucker. But like when you sit down and dissect it, like it's really similar to the Laramie Tunsil trade. I mean, you get out in front of this and you cash out while you can. I guess football is a little bit different dynamic with the salary cap, but I still feel like that's a pretty similar way. And like, I guess I'm kind of late to the party, but I'm joining that line of thinking with you and I'm very happy with it. But, the other big topic obviously is Altuve in left field. I know you've been kind of covering that. What are your thoughts on that? And how do you think that'll shake out?
It's fascinating. I think he's a bad defender at either position. Like, let's be very clear there. I don't think like I'm probably more okay with playing Jose Altuve in left field than most people. Like I get it. He's not going to be good at either position. Last year the defensive analytics did not even last year. You go back like the last 3 years, Altuve has been one of the worst, if not the worst, defensive second baseman in baseball. Now, if you move him to left field, is he going to be the worst defensive left fielder? Maybe. Like he might be the worst defensive left fielder, but it's not as valuable a defensive position. Like if you're going to be the worst defensive player, it's better to be the worst defensive player in left than it is the worst defensive player at second, because it's more valuable to have a good defensive second baseman, especially with who you have at the top of the rotation. Framber Valdez is one of the best ground ball pitchers in all of baseball. Hunter Brown is a really good ground ball pitcher. So whenever you have those two at the top, you want your best infield defense behind them. So it makes sense to me to have a better defensive second baseman than a good defensive left fielder. So that's why I'm okay with the move, because I know he's bad defensively at second base. I don't expect him to be good defensively in left. He'll be below average, I think. Now, will he be the worst? Hopefully not. Can he handle it? Hopefully. Now, the interesting dynamic of Altuve playing left field and not second base now, because now it's like this additional point. We talk about the defensive alignment and mythology of why you do it. But now if you look at this roster construct, it kind of makes more sense for him to play second base, because Cam Smith's now your right fielder. Zach DeZenzo, who they like and they want to give at bats to, could potentially play a corner outfield spot. And because Altuve is now taking the other outfield corner spot that, Cam Smith doesn't occupy, there's not a starting spot for Zach DeZenzo. So like the roster construct kind of suits it better if Altuve was at second base, but they're committed to the idea. They want to improve their infield defense. That is something that is a pillar. It looks like a spot I was talking about. We want to build behind pitching and defense. So if you're building behind pitching and defense, this makes the most sense. Offensively, your best 9 probably still has Altuve at second, which I wonder if they bounce him around a little bit. We had Todd Callis on the show yesterday. He's like, I don't think so. So
really?
We'll see how it goes. Like I understand the idea. I understand the brainchild. I understand doing it. Now, I wish Altuve could go back and forth, because to me, he would play left field behind Framber and Hunter Brown. And then he would play second base behind the fly ball pitchers. Eric Getty's a fly ball pitcher. Renell Blanco's a fly ball pitcher. I'm not too sure about Wesneski yet. But playing him in left field behind Fromber and Hunter, play him at second base behind the other guys, and then maybe get DeZenzo's bat in left field every now and then. And maybe they do that. Time will tell. But it's kind of like what I would do. But you also don't want to mess with Altuve. Like, he's learning the position. Do you want to play him 40% of the games in left field? Like, it's kind of challenging. It's kind of a hard ask. So it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
I mean, those are some great points. I mean, it's basically like the lesser of two evils. Like, if he's already bad at second base, you might as well do left field. And then your point as far as basically hiding him, if he plays outfield with a ground ball pitcher, he's not exposed as many fly balls. And then vice versa. If you play him at second with the fly ball pitcher, he's not going to get as many ground balls. So I like that. And then also another thing to point out too is maybe it's mitigated too if he plays left field at home with the short porch, with the Crawford boxes. It's kind of a different deal there. So it'll definitely be exciting for sure. I'll hit one more Astros questions and we'll move on to the Cougars. But Cam Smith, I mean, are you surprised by the meteoric rise? And what are your thoughts on how he'll play and then the whole debate about club control?
Yeah, I am a believer in service time manipulation. I think it is prudent for the organization to get the extra year if they can. Now, it's a much different dynamic if you're a playoff contender. If you're losing 100 games, heck yeah, manipulate their service time. People are getting ticked off whenever the Astros were manipulating George Springer's service time. You wanted Springer on a 100-loss team, or you want Springer on a 100-win team? Like, you pick the year. You pick the extra year. You want it on the front side when they're really bad, or you want it on the back side when they're a World Series contender? So it makes way more sense when your team is bad. When your team is good, I think you should get the best players out there. Even as a pro service time manipulator, I totally understand it. I think when you're a playoff contender, you get your best 9. So I don't really get bothered with the extra year here. Dana talks about how he likes to lock guys up early. So potentially that happens with Cam Smith. I don't know. He's locked up Christian Javier, and then he got hurt. Hasn't locked up some of the other younger players. Like, I was wondering if he would do it with Pena whenever he first got the job. It might be too late to do it now. I'm wondering if he does it with Yainer Diaz. Like, to me, it's the perfect time to extend Yainer Diaz, buy out a few free agent years of Yainer's. So maybe that comes into play. There is the added element now that you didn't have when George Springer was around, that if you win the Rookie of the Year and you're one of these top 100 prospects, or it's like PFP, I forget the acronym that they use, that you can win basically a draft pick in the amateur draft if he were to win Rookie of the Year. So there is the added element.
And he's the odds-on favorite right now, right?
I think that the odds are moving up. Him and Christian Campbell, I saw, are like the two front runners who got called up from Boston. So look, that's the added element. I don't think you should be making your decision with that in mind, but it's a nice perk, right? Oh, well, instead of an extra year of club control for Cam Smith, if he were to win Rookie of the Year, we would get an extra player.
And you get that play of a Rookie of the Year level of play. That's like the big thing for me.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even look at it from that point. You get the production of a Rookie of the Year player. And then on top of that, you get a top 40 draft pick, which now you have his minor league control. And then whenever he makes his debut, you have him for 6 years. So it is an interesting trade-off. I think he makes the team better. I'm a believer in Cam Smith. I think he's going to be good. I like his offensive profile. Learning right field might be challenging. That can be tough. Now, I think he's a good enough athlete to do it. And he has a big arm. So, like, I was always scared of Chas McCormick playing right, runners going first to third, because Chas McCormick has a noodle, and you don't want noodle arms in right field. You can hide them in left. You can even hide them a little bit in center, but you cannot hide bad arms in right field. So I like that element, that you get like a real arm in right field. Now, this is a bold move. Like, let's call it what it is. This is bold by Dana Brown. And I don't think Dana Brown's doing this if he doesn't think that Cam Smith can handle it. I don't think Joe signs off on it if he doesn't think that Cam Smith can handle it. But let's not ignore that this is unique, that this is rare. Smith's one of the fastest players to reach the big leagues in the history of the game. He was drafted last year. He was drafted last year to Florida State as a sophomore, as a draft-eligible sophomore. He's played 5 games above the high A-ball level. He's had 20 plate appearances above the high A-ball level. So it's not unprecedented, but it's very darn close to unprecedented. So it is a bold move. Now, maybe Cam Smith's just so dang good that it doesn't matter. That he's
Mm-hmm.
just going to adapt and he's going to win Rookie of the Year or be a contender for Rookie of the Year and be a staple in this lineup. But it is bold. It is bold. And you really hope that it's not too early. And I don't think that Dana would have done it if he had any doubt. So I do trust Dana and his baseball eyes and all of that. It's exciting to watch because, what if he is that good? Now you add that bat in the middle of your order, and you're talking about a much different look of what your starting nine looks like every day.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, he forced their hand. It wasn't like we called him up out of desperation. Like, yes, we want to contend now, but like his spring training was insane. So it's like, okay. And
Yeah.
I don't know how much you do risk, like, if you have to irreverse that, like take him back down if you mess with his psyche or not. But I mean, to me, it makes sense at the moment. I guess we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, his head. I mean, it seems like he's got his head screwed onto his shoulders, right? Like he seems like a great kid,
Yeah.
right? Meditates before games, like I meditate before shows. Listens to Bob Marley. He was talking about he had a notepad during the entire spring training and was taking notes from the veterans. So, I mean, he
Jeez.
seems like he has that mindset. And would it ruin him if he started off, hitting 150 in the first 3 months of the year and they had to send him back down for more seasoning? Probably not. Probably
Hmm.
not. But there is the element of doubt there. And I'm 99% sure that Dana Brown doesn't do this if he doesn't have full
Yeah.
confidence in the kid.
Yeah.
But there is that 1% of cynicism that I have. Too early. Is it too early? And I don't believe that it is, but it is a thought way back here in the back of my mind.
Well, let's hope it's not that 1%. So we're already at 17 minutes. I know you said you had
We're good.
15.
We're good. We're good.
Okay, cool. Let's dive into the U of H men's basketball. I'm guilty of this. I mean, I'm obsessed with the Texans, cover them thoroughly. So, and it's a 24/7 news cycle. So I probably don't give the Cougars as much of my attention as I should during the season. But I tend to ramp it up during this time of the year, and I have great memories each year of them, making great runs. So I guess just from like a casual fan perspective, give us like a recap of the season and like the first two games so far, like how you think it's gone.
I mean, it's one of the best regular seasons in Big 12 basketball history. And that sounds hyperbolic, right? But it's not. Now, this season in the Big 12 was a 20-game conference season, which is the only time they've done that. And they're also reverting back to 18 games next season. But Houston went 19-1 in a Power Four conference that could arguably be the second best conference in all of basketball. And 19 wins is a Big 12 record that has never been done before. 14 straight road wins in the Big 12, a Big 12 record. Now 10-0 on the road this year, but 14 straight Big 12 road wins dating back to last season, something that has never been done in Big 12 play. A number one seed for the third year in a row, 30 wins for the fourth season in a row. The regular season was historic, quite frankly. And that's not a hyperbolic statement. That is a fact. It was a historic regular season. A tournament, so far so good, right? You survive and advance. However, you get to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, you don't sit there and break everything down. So far so good. Cruise to victory in round one, 78-40, and then you beat Gonzaga. Really controlled that game. Into the final couple minutes, Gonzaga made it close, but Houston made the plays down the stretch to win and advance. Houston never trailed in that game. They were somewhere between that 6 to 14 point lead the entire game against a Gonzaga team that was underseeded. They were top 10 in the computer metrics, and they were seeded in 8. I thought it was a bad underseed, but you won.
U of H got screwed on that, man.
Yeah, but you won. So probably, but you won. So whatever, it's in the past. It's something that does not matter anymore.
Yeah, and I honestly watching that game, obviously don't know college basketball as well as you do, but it felt like a championship type game to me. U of H is known for their effort and defense, and we're playing, that way, but Gonzaga had incredible shot making. I mean, and
Uh-huh.
so I know a lot of people too kind of, started stressing out when it got tight at the end. And so I guess that's probably a concern going forward. But I feel like it's better to kind of have those things exposed early on. I'm mainly referring to the press, having trouble beating that 1-3-1 press. I can't imagine, that Kelvin Sampson hasn't hammered this home. So I guess takeaways from that going forward, do you project that they fix those issues? I know free throws were an issue as well.
I think the free throws are pretty good. I mean, they were 15 for 20 from the free throw line. Like you'll take 75%. That's better than their season
I
average.
guess I should say Gonzaga being perfect pretty much like is what made
Yeah,
it seem like
I
it was
haven't
worse.
figured out that free throw defense though. Like good get good student section behind the basketball stanchion. I guess actually I say that Houston actually led the Big 12 in opposing free throw percentage defense. I think it has something
Oh,
to do
wow.
with like how hard they play, and guys get to the line and they're probably a little tired. Um, but yeah, you're right. It's better to coach that up with after a win than when your season's over, right? So it's much better that it happened. Houston was working on that stuff prior to that. I think you have to tip your cap to Gonzaga. Like they were putting their athletes and their long defenders on the floor, and they were making the Cougars make difficult decisions and turn the ball over, which is uncharacteristic. Houston's one of the best teams at taking care of the basketball in the entire country. So yeah, I think it is good that it'll be cleaned up. I think that teams might do it if they trail as a way to try to get back into the game. Are they going to do it for 40 minutes? No. It'll probably be a card that you play when you're looking for a spark or something late half situation, whether it's the first half or end of game. But no, you're right. It's better that it happened in a victory, and that way you can work on it. And you had a few days between round 2 and the Sweet 16 to try to clean some things up. And I'm confident that they did.
And it's also a good thing too. Like you don't want to just go through this cakewalk and then have your first contested game late in the tournament. So like there is value in having like that, scary, stressful moment for those players, and they kind of learn through that. So I guess that's just like the positive silver lining look at it. But I guess looking at to tomorrow in Indy against Purdue. What are some like key matchups you're looking for? And then feel free to kind of highlight some of the players' names. Like I personally, Cryer is obviously a baller that everyone knows. I think Sharp is a stud. And then Roberts in that game against Gonzaga, I felt like he is just a dog, dude. Like he's just making these hook shots like with the defender draped all over him. So just kind of, preview the game and give us some insights on some of the players.
Yeah, I mean, Jawan Roberts' 146 career wins is the winningest Houston Cougar of all time. Now he's been here for 2 decades, but he's the winningest Houston Cougar of all time. Only the 4th Cougar ever to join the 1,000 point, 1,000 rebound club. Joins the likes of Elvin Hayes, Akeem Olajuwon, and Cadillac Greg Anderson. So pretty elite company
Sheesh.
there. JoJo Tugler, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. Draft buzz. He'll have a decision to make, but is a guy that you'll see play professionally at some point in the NBA. You're right about Sharp. Like Sharp had a foot sprain in the middle of the year that I think kind of set him back. I don't want to say derailed, but set him back a little bit, or it took a little bit of his aggression away as he was working his way back to 100%, but then won the Big 12 tournament, most outstanding player. So he's there. Cryer, 3rd-team All-American selection. And Milos Uzan was a second-team Big 12 guy, another guy who's getting some draft buzz and will have a decision to make, but, an NBA-worthy player. And then they have a good bench. Malik Wilson's kind of that spark plug that makes winning plays. Javier Francis, who was the starter on last year's team that was a Big 12 champion, that's playing really good in March. And then Terrence Arsenault has, pro potential as well, coming off a torn Achilles, a year ago. And he's a guy who can score 15 on you on any given night. Just kind of depends on the game flow. The matchups you look at with Purdue, Braden Smith's a first-team All-American Big 10 Player of the Year. Arguably the best point guard in the entire country. You played Nimhard last week, who would arguably be the best point guard in the country too. Braden Smith's in that conversation as well. Smith's fantastic, really good player. So Houston will have their hands full with him, of course. And then Trey Kaufman-Renn, I think, is the unsung hero for Purdue. Not anybody that follows Purdue. They know him pretty well. But if you haven't seen a whole lot of Purdue this year, Kaufman-Renn is really good. Averages over 20 a game, plays the 4 spot, a good rebounder. Can score on just about anybody. So defending Smith and defending Kaufman-Renn will be some of the keys for Houston tomorrow night.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I can't wait for the game. Is there anything else you want to kind of touch on for the Cougs or anything like that before we kind of wrap it up? Or
I think I'm good.
yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, again, thank you for attending on short notice. Hopefully we can schedule another one down the road with a longer sit down. But if you want to as well, you kind of shout out all of your handles and where they can listen to the game and all that good stuff.
Oh, no one wants to follow me on Twitter. I'm annoying. No one likes my Twitter and my social media.
What are
Complain
you
about
talking about?
every day. No one wants to follow me on Twitter at
You're electric, dude. There you go. At Jeremy Branham. And if y'all don't know, I I should tell you this, and I've told you this, but I really appreciate, the friendship. I consider you a friend, but you allowing me to come on the show with a weekly segment during the season. I love that. So it's been awesome. But yeah, let them know about the radio call too. I want to try and listen to the radio call because it's nice to have a local guy who knows the game.
Yeah, it airs locally on 950 KPRC 950 AM terrestrial radio, or you could download the Varsity Network app. And through the Varsity Network app, there's a couple of click things, but just search Houston and it'll pop right up there. So KPRC 950 AM locally, and then Varsity Network app if you want to listen digitally.
Awesome. Well, yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. I mean, we had, several hundred people tune in impromptu at 12:30 on a Thursday. So means a lot. And we're looking forward to a great day. Thanks again, Jeremy. And we'll see you guys.